What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Football Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Queen, and wow, what a great Sunday of football. But of course, before I recap what happened on Sunday in Week 17, I'd like for all my viewers out there on YouTube to hit that subscribe button, click that notification bell so you could be up to date and be notified when I drop another podcast episode. Also, if you listen to me on a podcast app, like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or even Spotify, go subscribe to the podcast. And as always, let's cue it up. Week 17 had a lot of games that dealt with the playoff picture, and the teams that got eliminated are the following. The first team that got eliminated from playoff contention will be the New York Jets with their loss against the Seattle Seahawks. The problem with the Jets this season have been the quarterback play. Zach Wilson, even though he has a winning record as a starter, is just not good. He's a bust. I got a BYU from the 2021 NFL Draft. He is just not a good quarterback at all. The guy who replaced him will be Mike White. Is just not good enough. He is okay at best. They thought because he beat the Chicago Bears in the rain that he would be the guy that take him to the promised land. Unfortunately, the Jets have a really good defense and pieces around pieces on their offense. But unfortunately, if you don't get the quarterback right in the NFL, you'll be watching the playoffs from the couch. The next team will be the Las Vegas Raiders. The Raiders are probably the most disappointing team in 2022 because of all the star talent. You talk about a team, all they did was add talent. They didn't lose none. For a team that went 10-7 last season, and now so far they are 6-10 this season, what happened? What's the difference? Derek Carr has been kind of inconsistent. Even though you look at his numbers are almost the same as last season, except for he leads the league in interceptions this year. But Derek Carr, they set him out for the rest of the season. Josh McDaniels decided to sit him out for the rest of the season so you could see what he has in Jarrett Stidham. And once he did that, you kind of knew the writing was on the wall. Plus, they had to go face a red-hot 49ers, who, by the way, are the number 2 seed now due to the Vikings losing against Green Bay, which I'll talk about later in this podcast episode. But Devontae Adams is going to be an all-pro this year. They have Max Crosby, who's a Pro Bowler. Josh Jacobs is going to be an all-pro this year. It's very weird that you had all this talent on this roster, and yet you're watching the playoffs from the couch. Very disappointing. The next team will be the New Orleans Saints, and they won against the Eagles. But unfortunately, because the Packers beat the Vikings that put the Saints out of playoff contention, the Saints, same thing, quarterback problem. Quarterback play is the reason why the Saints can't and won't be able to be a playoff contender in the future until they fix the quarterback. They had Jameis Winston. After 2 weeks, he's battled injuries, and they decided to just roll with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton didn't play the best football, but he didn't play the worst. And unfortunately, Andy Dalton is an aging quarterback, and he just doesn't have the arm power and the talent in order to elevate this offense that's just not that really good. The final team that missed the playoffs due to a loss on Sunday will be the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers had an opportunity. They were right there, and I was going for the Panthers because I just don't want to see Tom Brady in the playoffs again. I'm going to just be honest about it. Tom Brady, somehow, some way, in his worst season as a starter, is still a division winner. And it just so happens that the NFC South decided to be the worst team, the worst division of football. The Buccaneers are 8-8, and they have won the division. The NFC South, kudos to the Buccaneers. Tom Brady is having a home playoff game, and right now it looks like he's going to be playing the Cowboys. Oh, my goodness. And guess what? Cowboys tend to do Cowboys things. I just don't have faith in Cowboys be able to beat the Buccaneers on the road. The Cowboys are a good regular season team, and they always have been a good regular season team since Dak Prescott had become the quarterback. I think Dak Prescott's best game in the playoffs was when he was a rookie, and he's far from that going in year 7. We have a 7-year sample size of what the Cowboys are. The Cowboys are a team that will light you up on offense in the regular season, and once you get to the playoffs, they don't show up at all. Dak Prescott only has 1 playoff win and 4 appearances. 1. So it's unfortunate that we have to see the Buccaneers, and they're probably going to win in the first round. And then who knows? They might play Daniel Jones and the Giants, and that's how Tom Brady gets to another championship game. It's the sorry Buccaneers that are able to win the division. And I can't talk because the AFC South is trash too. My Jaguars are benefiting from a sorry division, so I cannot talk. But I think my team is better than the Buccaneers are. I think my team is an actual contender in the AFC right now, just by the way they have played in the past 10 weeks. Now, I would say Tom Brady had a great game against the Carolina Panthers. He threw for over 400 yards, had 3 passing touchdowns, and C.J. Henderson could not guard Mike Evans to save his life. And I'm so glad the Jacksonville Jaguars traded him to Carolina because that was his problem when he was there only a year. He will pout, not get better, not stay focused. And how many times do you have to get burnt as a corner? He won't be in Carolina for long if he keeps getting up touchdowns like that. He's single-handedly is the reason why the Panthers did not win that game. I thought Sam Darnold, he threw over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. I thought Sam Darnold played well enough for that team to win. And unfortunately, when your defense or just your defensive back, shall I say, gives up 3 touchdowns, yeah, it's going to be kind of hard to win ball games that way. Mike Evans had 200 yards, and I think it's his 9th consecutive season with 1,000 yards. So congrats to Mike Evans on that accomplishments. He's tied with, Jerry Rice has the record for most all time, I think, when 10, and Tim Brown is the guy he's tied with in second place. And both of those guys are Hall of Famers, so kudos to him. But let's go to Aaron Rodgers, who's coming. Aaron Rodgers is coming, guys. I'm going to talk about Aaron Rodgers more next segment of what he can do for this Packers team. Can he make the playoffs? But Aaron Rodgers and their victory over the Vikings, 41-17. Aaron Rodgers, he told us back in November that they are coming. He told us the way they have to win and everything has fallen in line. And people do not want to see Aaron Rodgers on the road in the playoffs. They do not. And that'll be teams like Minnesota. That'll be teams like the Eagles. And unfortunately, we'll be playing the Buccaneers. But right now, it looks like it's going to be 49ers and Packers. And for 49ers fans, that's something you want. For Minnesota fans, you hope that you don't have to get the number 2 seed because then you will have to play Aaron Rodgers in the playoffs. The current playoff scenarios for the teams that are still trying to get into the playoffs are as following. So in the AFC, the 7th seed is up for grab. Right now, the New England Patriots own the 7th seed. If they win next week against Buffalo, they're automatically in the playoffs. But the only team there's another team that would be waiting in the wings, and that would be the Jaguars and the Dolphins. Both teams will be looking to get that last spot in the playoffs. Now, for the Jaguars, if they beat the Titans in Week 18, they automatically clinch a whole playoff game and win the division. But also, the Jags have a possibility of actually winning, getting the 7th seed if Buffalo beats New England and the Jets beat the Dolphins, which is actually very likely, especially since Tua is still in concussion protocol and the Dolphins can't win a game without Tua. Plus, the Buffalo Bills kind of own the Patriots as of recently, so that could be a possibility as well. So the Jags have they're saying pretty nice right now. I'm smiling right now because I am a Jaguars fan. So we might actually have a home playoff game or even go on the road to go play like a Kansas City or a Bengals or, Buffalo. Now let's go to the NFC where it's actually more interesting how the last 3 teams that'll be fighting with that playoff spot. Right now, the Seahawks are 8-8 and currently hold the 7th seed. But the 2 teams underneath them will be the Detroit Lions, who are 8-8, and also the Green Bay Packers, who are 8-8. Now, the Detroit Lions are currently below the Seahawks because they lost to them in the regular season, which is unfortunate. And also, they're ahead of the Packers because they beat the Packers in the first head-to-head. The Packers have an actual legit chance of making the 7th seed because if they beat the Detroit Lions, even if the Seahawks win against the Rams, they will have a better division record than the Seahawks. So, and when it comes to tiebreakers, that's how it's battled, deal with it when it comes to teams that are not within the same division. That will make the Green Bay Packers a playoff team. Aaron Rodgers told us earlier in the season that he will be in the playoffs. I know a lot of people counting him out, and I did too. Go back. I'm one of them. I'm a man. I'm going to own it. I counted the Packers out. If you go back to my previous episode of my podcast in the beginning of the season, when they lost like 4 games straight, I didn't believe in the Packers. The Packers were playing like garbage. Okay, I'm just like everybody else. Once a teams have a decline, but they have showed us they can play defense. Aaron Rodgers can manage the game, and they're doing what I said I thought they will be as a team this season. Running game, playing good defense, and Aaron Rodgers will manage the game, and that's will be how the Packers will be at their best. This is what makes the Packers very scary going to the playoffs because if they do make it, they have a formula in order to beat teams. Defense, running game, Aaron Rodgers manages the game. And I think because Aaron Rodgers will have no pressure in the postseason this year, if he gets there, they'll be a legit they have a legit shot at contending for the Super Bowl in the NFC. So if that is the case, beware NFC teams, beware. That Batman and Aaron Rodgers, the sheriff of Green Bay, oh, he's coming. And I don't know if the teams are prepared for his arrival in the postseason. Before I end this podcast episode, I want to give a shout out to some underdog teams for the season. All right. I usually do my underdog of the day, but unfortunately, I want to talk about my underdogs of the season. The first team I haven't talked to is the Giants. Brian Daboll, you did one hell of a job of coaching Daniel Jones and getting him to be the best version of himself. Daniel Jones is a guy I have not believed in, but unfortunately, this season he has played okay. He's been okay. He's been good. Okay, I'm gonna upgrade it from okay. I'm gonna say he's been good this season. Daniel Jones runs the ball as well as any dual threat quarterback in the NFL, and he throws the ball just well enough in order for defense to have to keep him keep you honest. Daniel Jones has played very well this season. The Giants are in the postseason this year. They're the number 6 seed. Kudos to the Giants. I didn't see this happening in the offseason. I didn't think it would be a 1-year turnaround. But Daniel Jones in the contract year is getting his money's worth. The next team will be the Chargers. The Chargers added a lot of free agency acquisitions. And my biggest issue with the Chargers was they weren't living up to all the players they acquired. Unfortunately, it was because a lot of injuries happened. Keenan Allen got injured. Joey Bosa got injured. J.C. Jackson got injured. Derwin James was injured. And even Justin Herbert got injured, but he just toughed it out. Kudos to the Chargers. They are also the number 6 seed in the playoff picture as of this moment. They are going to be in the playoffs. Kudos to that team because I didn't see that coming. And those are the 2 teams that I talked about in my when I predicted the division and playoff teams. I didn't see those 2 teams being in the playoffs. So kudos to the Chargers and the Giants. Y'all both clinched the playoffs. It's an amazing feat. Justin Herbert, now you get to show the world that you can be a top-tier quarterback because quarterbacks are usually measured by their playoff success. Can you go win a playoff game or get your team to the Super Bowl the same way Joe Burrow did in his second year with the Bengals? Thanks for watching and listening to the Football Corner Podcast. Podcast episodes will be dropped on Mondays and Fridays, as well as YouTube videos on Mondays and Fridays. You could click the link in my description to follow the social media links to my podcast social media pages. And also, you will be able to stay up to date on new drops, new takes, and all that good stuff. Thanks for watching. See you next time.